Public key infrastructure. In this video, I will explain public key infrastructure. I will explain asymmetric encryption, e-commerce, public key, private keys, encryption, and decryption. Public key infrastructure, it's a framework. It doesn't specify any technologies, but it provides a foundation for CIA, confidentiality, integrity, and availability services. Information security, in other words. Public key infrastructure consists of hardware, software, policies that are implemented by the organization, by the company, standards to manage the creation. It also consists of distribution of keys, who we're going to give the keys to, the revocation of keys, the withdrawal and the canceling of the keys, and also digital certificates. Digital certificates are what binds the individual identity to that certificate. Okay, so here we're going to talk about confidentiality, integrity, and availability. C, for confidentiality, it prevents the disclosure of information to unauthorized individuals or systems. When we're transmitting data, we want it to stay confidential. We want the secrets to remain as is. And also with integrity, we want the information not only to stay confidential and secret, but we don't want it to change. That's maintaining and assuring the accuracy and consistency of systems and data. And then we have availability. Availability is making sure that the computing systems, the security controls, and the communication channels are functioning correctly. Okay, so availability. I have to make my public key available for someone that needs to be able to decrypt the information that I send them. So if I make my public key available to people in the company, they will be able to decrypt the information that I send them and read it, or maybe reply to it or share it. Say, for example, I worked for a financial institution and I wanted to share my public key with 3 people in the company so that they can review the financial reports. I would give my public key, say, to the CFO, the CIO, and maybe the CEO. The CFO can take my public key and look at the information that I sent him, and maybe look at the stock reports, or maybe look at the profit margins. And maybe if I send my public key to the CIO, he could look at the financial reports and see how well his choices as far as technology that's implemented into the organization, how well it's doing. And maybe the CEO may want my public key to look at the financial reports, because he's the head of the company. He's going to make decisions based on that financial report. So he has my public key to view that information, to share that information, and even to reply to the information. And what are digital certificates? Digital certificates are the heart of a public key infrastructure. It is the credentials, it is the identification that binds that individual to that certificate. They confirm the identity of the certificate subject and bind that identity to the public key contained in their certificate. So let's talk about how we can obtain a certificate, a digital certificate. First, the user registers for a digital certificate. And then after the registration has occurred, some method is used to determine the random values. And then after the random values are determined, an algorithm generates a public and private key pair. And then the key pair is stored in a key store on the workstation. And then a copy of the public key and other identifying information is sent to the certificate authority. And then the certificate authority generates a certificate containing the public key and all the other identifying information for the certificate. And then the new certificate is sent to the user. What is a public and private key pair? A public and private key pair and a public key infrastructure enables users to securely and privately exchange data and money through unsecure public networks. And an unsecure public network can be a Wi-Fi at McDonald's, it could be a Wi-Fi at Dunkin' Donuts or Starbucks, or just the plain internet. And public key and private key pair, they exchange data and money through the use of public and private key cryptographic keys. They are obtained and shared through a trusted authority. So when we talk about the trusted authorities, let's talk about the elements of a public key infrastructure. We have the certificate authority right here. Who's the trusted party? It's the trusted authority. They certify the individual's identities and they create electronic documents indicating the individuals are who they say they are, a digital certificate. And then we have the registration authority, which accepts the request for a digital certificate and performs the necessary steps of registering and authenticating the person registering for the certificate. And then we have the certificate database, which stores the certificate request and issues and revokes the certificates. And then lastly, we have the certificate store. And in the certificate store, it resides on the computer, on the local computer, and it has a place to store issued certificates and private keys. Now, what is asymmetric encryption, and why would we want to do it all the time? With asymmetric encryption, you have a public key, you have a private key. We can communicate secretively without having to share the key. And it's asymmetric because those who encrypt messages or verify signatures, they cannot decrypt messages or create messages. So, public key infrastructure and e-commerce. Public key infrastructure cryptography is the meat of e-commerce. Here's how it works. The sender puts the message in a box. The sender asks the person that will receive the message to buy a padlock and sends it to her. When the sender gets the padlock, she uses it to lock the box, then sends it off. So if someone tries to intercept the box, they won't be able to open it. Even the sender can't open the box when it's locked. The only person that can open the box is the intended recipient. They have the code necessary to open the message. And experts say this is close to perfection in internet security. Encryption and decryption. The public key and private key is what's going to provide confidentiality. You can give anyone your public key whenever you want to send something secret to someone. They will have the private key to open it. It's also used in the other direction. If I use my private key to encrypt something and send it along, everyone can open it with their public key. So here's my public key. I'm sending an encryption along, and the person with the private key that I give my public key to can decrypt, and it can go vice versa. So question. Only I have the private key. I encrypt the message, send it somewhere, but everyone can decrypt it with their public key. Why would I want to do that? Because when you get something that's encrypted and my public key opens it, that proves that it came from me. Thank you for listening to my presentation.